Hey guys, welcome to the second part of 1B functions. Last time we talked about how to identify functions, how do we know if a relationship is a function, right? This time we're going to be talking about function notation and evaluating functions, okay? So we're hitting this learning target right here, that you can evaluate any function using function notation, okay? And that will help us with our next lesson on graphing, okay? So we're going to go to the bottom part of our toolbox. So if you just ease the paper up to the bottom part of the toolbox, you'll see that we talk about function notation. So what is function notation? Let's read it together. So function notation is the way that a function's rule is written. Okay? It's an equation with the symbolic form f of x, where f and then parentheses x. Okay, f of x, this right here, is read, when you read it, it's read as f of x. It does not highlight, underline, it does not mean f multiplying x. It does not mean f times x, okay? It is read as f of x. We call it function notation, okay? I'm scared some of you guys don't remember that, so let's highlight it. It does not mean multiplying x, does not, okay? It is read as f of x. Okay, technically this letter that we choose in front doesn't matter. We normally just use f of x, and then if we had to have a second one, we choose g of x. If we do a third one, we normally do h of x. But you can do whatever letter you want, right? If your favorite letter is r, then you can do r of x, right? But generally we do f for function, f of x, okay? So since x represents our input values, f of x represents our output values, often known as our y values, especially when we're graphing. Okay, so let's label the parts. Okay, so this part right here, f, is our name of the function. Okay, like I said, it doesn't have to be f. We normally, I guess, just choose f because function starts with an f, but you can do any letter you want. You can do your favorite letter if you want, but normally we do f of x. Okay. This, after the letter, after the name of the function, this tells us what to plug into the function. Okay. Tells us what to plug into the function. Okay. This whole thing, what it ends up equaling is the output. Think of f of x as y. Right? You plug in an x value, you get out a y value. Okay? And the thing after that is the function or the rule itself. Okay? And for this function, the rule is 3x plus 4. Okay? But as we learn about more types of functions and graphs, the rules change. Okay? So now we're going to skip a couple of pages past what we did last time to where it says understanding function notation. Okay? And so we're going to start off with a real life example, just so you understand function notations and these rules actually represent real things in real life. Okay, so example 2, Lexi had her car towed when it broke down. It cost her $3.50 per mile to have it towed, plus a flat fee of $50. Okay, the function f of x equals 3.50x plus 50 represents her cost. Okay, so in case you don't know what towing a car is, if your car breaks and you can't drive it anywhere, you need another like truck to take it away, and that's called towing. Okay, and that costs money. So this is what we're talking about. Okay, so part A asks us, what does x in the function represent in relation to this word problem? Okay, so here we're told it costs her $3.50 per mile. Just so you know, per always means multiplication. Okay, so here we see this $3.50 per mile later as 3.50x So what x represents is the number of miles the car is towed. The number, if you're lazy, you can do the number sign, which is just the pound or hashtag sign. The number of miles the car is towed. Okay. And just in case you're wondering, how did you get that, Miss Ng? That's because of this. This 350 per mile. I told you per means multiplication, and here you see 350 multiplying by x. And so that's how I know that x represents the number of miles a car is towed. Okay? So what does f of x represent in relation to the word problem? Okay? F of x, it literally tells you the function f of x represents her cost. Okay? So that was easy. They even told us. So f of x represents the cost, or the total cost, right, for her car to be towed. Okay, we're going to put her name in. Shout out to Lexi. I don't know who Lexi is. Anyways, for Lexi's car to be towed. If you're wondering, hey, Miss Ng, how did you know that? It literally told me. The function f of x, and then it told me the rule, represents her cost. So f of x represents the total cost. Cool. It told me, I wrote it down. Okay. So now it tells us find f of 100 and explain what that means. Okay. This just tells me what to plug in. So all I'm going to do is take that 100 and plug it in for x. Okay. So f of 100 equals 3.50. I'm going to replace that x with 100 plus 50. Okay, let me highlight stuff so we see it. Right. So f of 100, I just plugged in 100 for x. Okay, now let's solve. Okay, 3.50 times 100 gives me 350. Then bring everything down. 350 plus 50 is 400. So what does this mean? So I'm going to write it. F of 100 equals 400, which means Lexi needs to pay $400 for her car to be towed 100 miles. Okay. I would star this example because you're going to see something similar to it on your quiz. Okay. Awesome. Now let's move on. 2 more examples. Okay. So evaluating function notation. We actually just did that with part C, but this is how we do it. We determine which function. Okay, so which one are we looking at? Then we replace every x with the input in parentheses. Right? So we did that earlier, right? We replaced every x with that 100. And then we simplify it. We solve it. Cool. So let's start with example 3. So here we have 2 functions. One is called f, okay? And that's represented by the rule x plus 1. And then the other function we have is g. That's represented by x squared plus 2x. Okay? So we're going to evaluate the function. So here it says f of 4 equals. So first thing, I need to know which one am I talking about. Am I talking about this one or this one? How do I know? It says f, so I'm going with the f one. Okay? So we are using this one. Okay. And now we're going to replace every x with the input in parentheses. So I'm going to replace every x here with 4. Okay, 4 plus 1, you guys should know that it is 5, and that's my answer. F of 4 equals 5. Okay. Let me do some highlighting for us. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Here we have g of 3 equals, so first thing, determine which function. I'm using the g one because this is g. Okay. Then I'm going to replace every x with the input in parentheses. So I'm going to put a 3 in here and a 3 here. Okay, let me highlight it for us. Okay, and then all you have to do is solve. Okay, you guys should know what 3 squared is. That's 3 times 3. That equals 9. Okay. And then I'm going to write it just because some of us always forget. Okay, then it's multiplication. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then 9 plus 6 is 15. Oh, look how important our order of operations is. So g of 3, remember it doesn't mean g times 3. Nope, g of 3 equals 15. Yay! Okay, now it looks a little bit more complicated. It really isn't. Okay, so here we have f of 2. So that means I'm going to use this f part. So whatever that is, and then plus g of 1, and I'm going to use this part. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to plug in 2 for everywhere I see x. So 2 plus 1. Okay, I'm going to put it in brackets. That way I know this is f of 2. Okay, so let me just highlight things for us first. So f of 2, that f tells me I'm using this function. And then this 2 in parentheses tells me I'm plugging it in here. Okay, so that's why you see here that 2 plus 1. Okay. And then so f of 2, that's this, plus whatever g of 1 is. Okay, so that means I'm using this one here. I'm going to plug in 1 wherever that x is. So 1 squared plus 2 times 1. And then again, let me just highlight so we can all see. Okay, so g of 1, I'm using this. So this here is g of 1. Okay. And this 1 is where I plugged in into all of the x's, wherever I saw x. Okay. Now I'm going to solve. Okay, so brackets first, or grouping first. So here I have 2 plus 1, so this will be 3. Okay, even in brackets, we still follow order of operations. So exponents first, so 1 squared, that's 1 times 1, which is just 1. Right. Then, next order of operations, okay, still grouping, I do this multiplication. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2. Continuing with order of operations, 1 plus 2 is next in that grouping. So that's 3, that's 3. Then last 3 plus 3 is 6. Woo, that's my answer. Okay, so f of 2 plus g of, f of 2 plus g of 1 is 6. Okay. Let's try another one. Okay, so g of negative 1 plus f of 1. Okay, I'm going to write it all out and then I'll plug it, and then I'll highlight for us. Okay, so here in negative 1, I'm going to plug it wherever I see x. Now I'm going to solve using order of operations. Okay. So starting with exponents here, okay, well, starting with grouping, okay, and then inside our grouping, order of operations. So exponents, -1 squared is -1 times -1. That gives me +1. Okay. Then inside my grouping, I'm going to do my multiplication. So that 2 times -1 gives me -2. So I can write 1 plus -2, or another way to say it is 1 minus 2. Okay, then doing my grouping, I have 1 minus 2, which is -1. And then this grouping, 1 plus 1 is 2. So -1 plus 2. And -1 plus 2 is 1. Okay, next we have f of m. It looks really complicated. When kids see this, they freak out for some reason because it's not a number. But you're just doing the same thing, okay? You're determining which function. So it says f, so I'm going to use the f1. And then you're going to replace every x with the input, the thing in parentheses. So simple enough, all I have to do is plug in m for x. m plus 1. And I'm actually done. That's it, right? I determined which function. Okay, since it's f, I use the f1. And then all I had to do is take what I had inside the parentheses, the input, and plug it in wherever I saw x, which I did. Right here. Okay. And then I'm done. That's it. F of m equals m plus 1, whatever that is. Okay. Same thing with this, g of w. No need to freak out. I decide which one it corresponds to, and then I plug what I have inside for x. Okay. I determined that because it said g here, that we're using our g function. And then since my input was w, I plugged it in wherever I saw x. So that's why it's w squared plus 2w. And I'm done. Now, this is a little bit more confusing for some people. Okay, so this is asking us, what is f of g of 2? Okay, we're going to start from the inside and work out. Okay, so the first thing I need to know is, what is g of 2? Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that g function and I'm going to plug that 2 wherever I see x. So let me do some highlighting for us. This g of 2 here is this part, right there. Okay. And then we plugged in this into all of my x's. So that's why that's this and this. Okay. And then we can't figure out what to plug into f yet until we know what g of 2 is. That's this whole part here. Okay, so that's yet to come. Okay, so let's do the g of 2 first. Okay, so 2 squared, we're going to do exponents first. So 2 squared is 4. Okay, then I do multiplication, 2 times 2, which is also 4. And then I do my addition. 4 plus 4 is 8, so f of 8. Okay, now that looks familiar. So g of 2 is actually 8. Okay? And basically I'm taking whatever g of 2 is, and now I'm going to plug it into the f function. Okay? So I'm going to replace that 8 into where I have x. So f of 8 equals 8 plus 1, which equals 9, right? So if you wrote everything out, f of g of 2 equals 9. Okay, so let's try this again. This time it's g of f of 0. Okay, so first I need to plug in 0 into the f of x function. So let me do the highlighting. So this f of 0, that's here. Okay. Then I solve. 0 plus 1 is 1. So now I just need to find g of 1. Okay. And then I plug it in. Okay. So I have 1 squared plus 2 times 1. 1 squared is 1. Okay. 2 times 1 is 2. So g of f of 0 is actually 3. Okay. Let me just highlight everything for us again. And so my final answer is 3. Okay, so here it says find the value of x if f of x equals 3. All I'm going to do is take this 3 and replace it for f of x, because it told me f of x is 3, so I'm going to put 3 here and solve. Okay, so 3 equals x plus 1. So 3 equals x plus 1. Right, so all I did is replace that f of x with 3, and then I solve. Right, to get x by itself, subtract 1. Okay, 3 minus 1 is 2. Equals, this cancels out. So 2 equals x. Okay, last one here. Instead of giving us an equation and stuff, here it tells us a table. Okay, so boiling water at 212 degrees Fahrenheit is left in a room that is at 65 degrees Fahrenheit and it begins to cool. So hot water is cooling down. Okay, temperature readings are taken each hour and are given in the table below. In this scenario, the temperature, T, is a function of the number of hours. Okay, so another way to think about it is hours, or H, is now our X. And then the T of H here is kind of like our F of X. So here it says evaluate T of 2. So all you're going to do is you're going to find where 2 is on the hours. So on the hours, you see that 2. Right. So this is our H. You look at it under the H column 2. Oh, and it corresponds with 104. So T of 2 is 104. Okay, and that's our answer. Okay, that's how I got it. Okay, here it asks us for what value of H is T of H equals 76. So here you're looking at the T of H, you're going to try to find 76. Okay. So if you look at the T of H column, where's 76? Oh, that's right here. What's the H that goes with it? Look here, that's 4. So for what value of H is T of H equals 76? That is 4. Okay, that's it for today. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Bye, guys.